Right, we've talked about average rate of change before, but now we're going to use a different method. So the average rate of change is slope only from 2 points. We've looked at average rate of change when we're talking about linear functions, which was the slope, the change in the y values over the change in the x values. What's different when you get to things that are not linear is that we call slope a different name because it's not a straight line. So now what is average rate of change? Average rate of change is the change in the y value divided by the change in the x value for 2 distinct points on the graph. And that's very similar. You can see this, the change in the y values divided by the change in the x values. The only difference is that when you're talking about a linear, the slope is the same no matter where you look. However, when you're talking about things that are not linear, you're given these 2 distinct values on the graph. So let's take a look at one. So this is from a graph. So we are finding f of x's graph below. What's the average rate of change for the function f of x on this interval? So you're always going to be given the interval that you're going to go with. So that's something that you're always going to use. You know that from the previous video, this is your first value for x, and you know it's x because this says x, and this is your second value for x. Okay, so the first one and then the second value. Okay, so now that I know that, I'm just going to mark those 2 points on the graph. So -1, -2, -3, -4. So when x is -4, this is the point we're referencing, and when x is -2, -1, -2, right here, this is the point. So when you are talking about a linear, it's already a straight line, but you'll see here, this is not a straight line. But they're asking for the same thing. They're just asking you for what is the slope between these 2 points. They're not asking you to look anywhere else. So you're really drawing the slope between these points. Once you understand that, then the question becomes very, very simple, because really, you're really looking for the slope of those 2 points. So get 2 points. So let's get 2 points and make it a table. So here's my table. My first one is -4, so I'm always just going to put my first one is -4, my second one is -2. So I just need the corresponding y values. Well, what are those corresponding y values? So let's take a look at it. When x is -2, right, -2, y is what? -1. When x is -2, y is -1. When x is -4, so when 1, 2, 3, 4, when x is -4, again, you go up to the graph and then go to the y value, y is 1, 2, 3. So once you can get the 2 points, whereas before I showed you how to put it into the formula, we're just going to use decimals this time. So what do I know? If I click this, and I select a linear regression, it's going to give me the slope between these 2 points and the y-intercept. So you see how it does that? So my slope is really -2. All right, so I'm just going to prove that to you. So we did this in the previous video where we were actually using the slope formula. And if you remember, it was parentheses minus parentheses or parentheses minus parentheses. x2, which was -2. And then x1, which was -4. And then you just match the points. So -2 goes with -1, and -4 goes with +3. And you'll see that you're going to get the exact same slope, because the idea is you're finding the slope between these 2 points. So if I made it a line of regression, then I can just quickly look at my slope, which is a lot faster than inputting all of this. So this is the method that we're going to go with for this unit, and then you're going to pick the method that you prefer. All right, so since average rate of change is a slope between 2 distinct values of x, and the slope is the AROC, we're going to use that. If the slope is a decimal, in this case it's not a decimal, type it into a new line and make it a fraction by clicking this. So this is not a decimal. So the AROC between these 2 points is -2. And how do I know that? Because this line here is y equals -2x plus 7. And what we are interested in grabbing is just my slope. Okay, so that's how you do it from a graph. Let's practice.